I've been hunting since I was old enough to hold a rifle steady. Not because I enjoyed killing, not because I wanted trophies, but because the woods were the only place that ever felt quiet enough for my mind. During the day, life was loud. Phones, people, traffic. But at night, the forest was something else entirely. It was empty, or at least it was supposed to be. That night was the first time I realized the woods don't belong to us. They never did. And sometimes, you aren't hunting the animals. Sometimes, you're just sitting in the dark, waiting for something that's already watching you. It was early October when the hogs started tearing through the farmland behind my property. They were destroying crops, ripping up fences, leaving muddy trenches like something had been dragged through the earth. My neighbor, Dale, had been complaining non-stop. "You gotta take care of it," he told me, "before it gets worse." I agreed. Hog hunting wasn't unusual around here. What was unusual was doing it at night. But the hogs were smart. They stayed hidden during the day, only moving once the sun disappeared. So I prepared the way I always did, quietly, carefully, like a ritual. I checked my rifle twice, loaded fresh rounds, attached my night vision scope. Then I grabbed my flashlight, my radio, and a hunting knife I never actually planned on using. It was more for comfort than anything else. By the time I stepped outside, the air had turned cold enough to sting. The moon was thin, barely present, the kind of night where darkness didn't just surround you. It pressed against you. I walked past my backyard, past the tree line, and into the woods. About a decade earlier, I'd built a hunting tower back there. Just a simple wooden platform, maybe 15 feet off the ground. It wasn't fancy, but it gave a clear view of the clearing where hogs usually passed through. I climbed up, settled into the seat, and waited. At first it was peaceful. Crickets, wind moving through leaves, that soft, constant sound of nature breathing. I scanned slowly through the night vision. Everything looked pale green. Tree trunks like ghosts, bushes like shadows. Minutes passed, then an hour. Nothing. No hogs, no deer, not even a rabbit. I started to wonder if Dale had exaggerated the whole thing. That's when I saw movement. At the far edge of the clearing, something dragging through the grass. My heart immediately kicked up. Finally, I raised the rifle, zoomed in, expecting to see a hog's wide back. But instead, I saw a man. He was walking slowly. Too slowly, like he wasn't worried about being out here. He wore black from head to toe. A hoodie pulled tight over his face, black pants, black shoes, no reflective gear, no flashlight, no hunting rifle, just darkness. And behind him, he was dragging something, a sack, long and heavy. It left a faint trail through the grass. At first, I thought it was a deer carcass, but the way it moved, it didn't flop like an animal. It dragged stiff, wrong. My mouth went dry. Because suddenly, hunting was the last thing on my mind. This wasn't some guy walking his dog. This wasn't another hunter. This was someone doing something they didn't want seen. And I was seeing it. I stayed frozen, watching through the scope. The man reached the center of the clearing. Then he stopped. Just stopped. For several seconds, he didn't move at all. Then slowly, his head tilted upward, directly toward the tower, toward me. I felt ice crawl up my spine. There was no way he could see me. It was pitch black. I hadn't made a sound, and yet, it looked like he was staring straight at my hiding place, like he knew, like he'd always known. I ducked down instantly, pressing myself against the wooden floor. My hands were shaking so badly the rifle almost slipped. I held my breath. Seconds passed. 1, 2, 3. Nothing. No footsteps moving away. No sound of the sack being dragged again. Just silence. Then, a creak. Wood. Below me. Something touched the ladder. My stomach dropped. A footstep. Another. The tower trembled slightly. Whoever was down there was climbing up. I gripped my rifle tighter. My mind screamed at me to shoot. But shoot who? A stranger, a man I hadn't even confirmed was armed. What if it was a misunderstanding? What if... Another step, closer. The ladder groaned. Then it stopped, right beneath the platform. I could hear breathing, slow, patient, like he was listening to me, like he was enjoying this. Then, without warning, the footsteps moved back down. Fast, a heavy thud hit the ground, and then the dragging sound returned. He was leaving. I stayed frozen, afraid to even blink. After what felt like 10 minutes, I finally peeked over the edge. The clearing was empty. The man was gone. But the grass showed a trail, a path where the sack had been pulled into the woods, and in the center of the clearing, something dark remained, something he'd left behind. I stared through the scope, and my blood turned cold. Because it wasn't an animal, it wasn't hunting equipment, it was a body bag, just lying there, abandoned, like bait. I didn't wait another second. I climbed down the ladder, nearly falling in my panic. The moment my boots hit the ground, every instinct told me one thing. Run. Go home. Call the police. Do not look back. So I ran, flashlight off, heart pounding, branches snapping under my feet. The woods suddenly felt endless. And then, behind me, leaves crunched, fast, too fast. Someone was running too, catching up, and then I heard it. A voice, low, right behind my ear, almost laughing. Don't go! I spun around, and the darkness rushed at me. I don't know what made me turn around. Maybe it was instinct, maybe it was panic, or maybe some part of me needed to see what was chasing me. The second I spun, the beam of my flashlight flickered on, and the woods exploded into shape. Tree trunks, branches, leaves spinning in the wind. And then, him. He was right there, not 10 feet away, not 20. He was inches from me, close enough that I could smell something rotten on his breath. Close enough that I could see his hood wasn't just shadow. It was stained, dark patches like dried mud, or worse. His face was half hidden, but his mouth was smiling, like this was a game, like he'd been waiting for me. I stumbled backward, rifle shaking in my hands. "Stay back," I yelled. My voice cracked. The man didn't speak. He only took one slow step forward, then another, and I realized something horrifying. He wasn't afraid of the gun. That meant one of two things. Either he didn't believe I'd shoot, or he didn't care if I did. My finger tightened on the trigger. My heart hammered so violently I thought I might pass out. He moved again, and I fired. The shot shattered the night like thunder. The recoil slammed into my shoulder. For a split second, the forest went silent. Then, a scream, raw, animal. The man staggered back, clutching his shoulder. I didn't wait. I ran. I sprinted through the trees so fast branches whipped across my face. I didn't care. I didn't stop. Behind me, his footsteps stumbled, then faded. But the damage was done. The woods no longer felt empty. They felt alive and angry. I burst out of the tree line into my backyard, nearly collapsing onto the grass. My porch light was on. My house never looked so safe in my entire life. I slammed the door behind me, locked it, then locked it again. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. I dialed 911. The operator answered calmly. 911, what's your emergency? I swallowed hard. There's a man in the woods behind my house. A man. Yes, he was dragging something. A body bag. I think he killed someone. There was a pause. Sir, are you safe right now? I'm inside, but he was close. He chased me. Did you see a weapon? No, but... Sir, stay inside. Officers are on the way. I hung up and pressed my forehead against the wall. My breathing sounded too loud. Every creak of the house made me flinch. Outside, the woods were quiet again. Too quiet, like they were holding their breath. 15 minutes later, blue lights flashed across my windows. Sheriff's deputies. 4 cars, more than I expected. I stepped outside carefully, keeping my rifle lowered. One of the deputies raised a hand. "Put the gun down, sir." I obeyed immediately. A tall man approached, his badge catching the porch light. "Name's Sheriff Mallory," he said. "You the one who called?" "Yes." He studied my face. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I almost laughed. "I wish it was a ghost." I told him everything. The tower, the man in black, the sack, the body bag in the clearing, the chase, the shot. Mallory's expression darkened. "You're sure it was a body bag?" "I'm sure." He turned sharply to his team. "All right, 2 of you with me. The rest stay here. If this guy comes back, I want eyes on this property." My stomach twisted. "You think he'll come back?" Mallory didn't answer. That was answer enough. We moved into the woods with flashlights and rifles. The deputies walked like they belonged there, like they'd done this 100 times. I walked like a man stepping into a nightmare. Every tree looked wrong. Every shadow felt like it was leaning closer. The clearing came into view, and there it was. The bag, still lying in the grass. Mallory approached slowly. One deputy crouched, unzipping it carefully. I held my breath. The zipper opened halfway. Then Mallory froze. His flashlight beam trembled slightly. "What is it?" I whispered. He didn't respond. He simply stepped back. The deputy's face went pale. I forced myself forward, against every instinct screaming not to, and then I saw it. Inside the bag wasn't a body, not fully. It was pieces, wrapped in plastic. Severed limbs, a torso, no head, no hands, like someone had taken their time, like it was art. I gagged, stumbling backward. Mallory swore under his breath. "Jesus Christ!" One deputy turned away, vomiting into the grass. Mallory grabbed his radio. "Dispatch, we have a confirmed homicide. Multiple remains. Call in state police. Now." Static crackled. Then a voice. "Copy that." Mallory's jaw tightened, and then he said something that made my blood run cold. "This isn't the first one." I stared at him. "What?" He looked at me grimly. "We've had disappearances, people hiking, hunters, a couple homeless guys near the highway." My mouth went dry. "And you didn't warn anyone?" Mallory's eyes flicked toward the tree line. "We didn't know where to look." He lowered his voice. "Until tonight. We followed the blood trail, thin droplets across leaves, faint but visible." Mallory motioned for silence. The forest felt heavier the deeper we went. Then, we found him. At first, I thought it was just a fallen log. Then it moved. A shape curled beneath it, breathing hard. Mallory raised his rifle. "Sheriff's office, don't move!" The figure twitched. Slowly, painfully, it crawled out. The man in black. His shoulder was soaked in blood, but his eyes were wide and bright, not with fear, with excitement, like he was proud. He smiled again, and then he spoke for the first time. "You shouldn't have shot me," Mallory snapped. "Hands where I can see them." The man laughed softly. I wasn't finished. Deputies rushed forward, pinning him down, cuffing him. He didn't resist. He just kept smiling. As they dragged him away, his head turned toward me. His voice was almost gentle. "You saw the bag." I didn't answer. "You know what comes next." My stomach dropped. What do you mean?" His grin widened. "There's always another bag." Then they shoved him into the patrol car, and the door slammed shut. I thought it was over. I thought the nightmare ended there. But as the police cars drove away, Mallory lingered beside me. His face was pale in the flashing lights. "Go inside," he told me. "Lock every door. Don't go back into those woods." I swallowed. "He's caught. It's done, right?" Mallory hesitated. Then he said quietly, "We caught one man." My skin prickled. "What do you mean, one?" Mallory looked toward the dark tree line. "The footprints out there. There were more than his." That night I didn't sleep, not even for a second. I sat on my couch with every light in the house turned on, my rifle resting across my knees like a security blanket. Outside, the woods were black, silent. But after what Sheriff Mallory said, I couldn't stop imagining shapes moving between the trees. More than one, more than him. The thought kept drilling into my skull. We caught one man. But the footprints were more than his. I kept replaying the scene in the clearing. The bag, the pieces, the way the killer smiled like he wanted to be seen. Like the whole thing was staged, like it wasn't just murder. It was a message. Around 3:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at it for a long time before answering. "Hello?" Static, breathing. Then a voice, low and calm. "You shouldn't have called them." My blood froze. "Who is this?" A soft chuckle. "You already know." The line went dead. I sat there, staring at the phone. My hands started shaking again. Mallory had told deputies to stay near my property. But suddenly, I wasn't sure that mattered, because whoever that was, they had my number. Morning came like a cruel joke. Sunlight didn't make me feel safer. It only made everything feel more real. At 8 a.m., Sheriff Mallory pulled into my driveway alone. No lights, no sirens, just him. He stepped out looking like he hadn't slept either. His uniform was wrinkled. His face looked older than it had the night before. "We need to talk," he said. I didn't invite him inside. I didn't want anyone inside. We stood on the porch. I kept my voice low. Was that man part of something bigger? Mallory's jaw tightened. We interrogated him, and he didn't deny anything. He enjoyed it. My stomach turned, but he wouldn't tell us names, wouldn't tell us where he came from. Mallory paused, then added, "He kept repeating the same phrase." I swallowed. "What phrase?" Mallory's eyes met mine. "There's always another bag." A cold wind passed through the yard. I stared past him toward the woods. "What did you mean about the footprints?" Mallory hesitated. Then he exhaled. "When we followed the blood trail last night, we found more tracks." "How many?" Mallory's voice dropped. "At least 6. My heart sank. 6 people. We don't know if they were together. Or watching," I whispered. Mallory didn't correct me. That silence was confirmation. Later that day, state police arrived. Unmarked cars. Men in plain clothes. They combed through the woods behind my property like ants. Dogs barked, radios crackled. I stayed inside, watching through the window. Around noon, one of the officers knocked. "Sir, we need you to come identify something." My stomach clenched. "Identify what?" He didn't answer. He just turned and walked. I followed, feeling like I was walking into a grave. They led me back toward the clearing, but instead of stopping there, they went deeper, farther than I'd ever gone. The woods grew thicker. The air grew colder. Then we reached it. A structure, half hidden under branches and camouflage netting. A camp. Not a normal camp. No coolers, no tents, no lanterns. This was a place people didn't want found. There were hooks hanging from trees, rusty tools, shovels. Plastic tarps folded neatly like supplies, and in the center, a pile of body bags, at least a dozen. My legs went weak. I almost collapsed. One officer muttered, "My God!" Mallory looked sick. "This is their dumping ground," I whispered, barely audible. "There." Mallory didn't respond, but I saw it in his eyes. He knew. He'd suspected, maybe longer than he admitted. Then one of the dogs started barking wildly. The handler shouted, "Over here!" Officers rushed toward a patch of ground covered in leaves. They kicked debris aside and uncovered a trap door, a wooden hatch. Mallory stared at it. "No!" One officer pried it open. The smell hit us instantly. Rot, decay, something old and wrong. The officer shined his flashlight down, and then he stumbled backward. "Jesus!" Mallory leaned forward. I forced myself to look. Below the trap door was a cellar. Not natural, not a storm shelter. It was dug out by hand, and inside were belongings, wallets, phones, boots, hunting gear, dozens of items stacked like trophies. And against the far wall, a chair with restraints, the kind you see in nightmares. My throat tightened. This wasn't just murder. This was prolonged, planned, organized. A state detective approached Mallory. "This is bigger than one guy." Mallory nodded stiffly. Detective's eyes narrowed. "You didn't tell us you had missing persons cases tied to this land." Mallory's face hardened. "We didn't know where it was." The detective leaned closer. "Or you didn't want anyone looking." Mallory's hand twitched near his belt. The tension snapped like a wire. I suddenly realized Mallory wasn't just tired. He was terrified, not of the killers, of what would be uncovered. That night they arrested the man officially. His name was Elias Crow. A drifter, no job, no family, no record beyond petty theft. But the detective told us something worse. "He's not the mastermind." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" The detective's voice was flat. "He's the bait." At midnight I was back in my house again. Deputies posted outside. Locks checked twice. I sat in silence. Then, a knock. 3 sharp raps. I froze. Deputies were outside. So why was someone knocking? I didn't move. Another knock. Then a voice. Soft. Familiar. "Open up." It was Sheriff Mallory. I frowned. Why would he be here this late? I approached cautiously. "Then, Sheriff?" "Open the door," he said again. Something about his tone was wrong. Too calm, too rehearsed. I looked through the peephole. Mallory stood there, but behind him, in the darkness, I saw another shape, just barely. A hood, black. My blood turned to ice. I stepped back. "Sheriff, who's with you?" Mallory's voice stayed calm. "Open the door." My heart slammed. "No!" Mallory sighed. Then his voice changed. Not Mallory anymore. Not even close. A whisper. "You should have stayed in the tower." And then the porch light went out. The porch light went out so suddenly, it felt like the darkness had swallowed the world whole. 1 second, Sheriff Mallory was standing there. The next, only a black shape behind the glass, and a voice that wasn't his. "You should have stayed in the tower." My body went cold. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I backed away from the door, slowly, silently, like an animal trying not to startle a predator. Outside, I heard a soft scrape, metal against wood, like someone sliding something thin between the doorframe. A lockpick. My breath caught. Mallory's voice returned, calm and almost annoyed. "Open up! Don't make this harder. Harder. Like this wasn't already hell." I whispered to myself. This isn't Mallory. Or maybe. It was, and that was worse. I stumbled backward into the kitchen. My rifle was leaning against the counter. I grabbed it so fast my hands nearly slipped off the stock. The front door rattled. Once, twice, then a heavy thud, a shoulder slam. They weren't picking the lock anymore. They were forcing their way in. I looked toward the living room window. Deputies were supposed to be outside. Where were they? Then I saw something that made my stomach drop. A patrol car sat across the road. Empty. Driver's door open, like someone had stepped out quickly, or been dragged out. No voices, no radios, no flashing lights. Just silence. Mallory's voice again. "You really thought we didn't know where you lived?" My throat tightened. "We?" I whispered. The door shook violently. The deadbolt groaned. Then, crack. The frame splintered. I ran. Not upstairs, not deeper into the house. Straight for the back door. I yanked it open and sprinted into the yard, barefoot on cold grass. Behind me, the front door finally burst inward. A voice shouted, "Go!" Multiple footsteps stormed into my house. Not one, not two, several. The woods behind my property were black, thick, endless, but at that moment, they felt safer than my own home. I sprinted toward the tree line. Branches whipped my face. My lungs burned. Then, a flashlight beam snapped on behind me. "Stop!" Gunfire cracked. A bullet tore through a tree inches from my head. I ducked and kept running. They weren't trying to scare me. They were trying to drop me. Like an animal, like prey. I didn't know where I was going. Only away. Deeper into the forest. My tower was somewhere ahead. The clearing, the cellar, the body bags. All of it rushed through my mind. Like a nightmare montage. Then I realized something horrifying. They weren't chasing blindly. They knew these woods better than I did. They were guiding me, hurting me, like they wanted me to end up somewhere specific. And then, I heard it. A whistle. Short, sharp. Answering whistles echoed from different directions. They were spread out, surrounding me. My chest tightened. I was running into a net. I stumbled into the clearing. Moonlight barely touched it. The grass was flattened where the bag had been. But now, it wasn't empty. Figures stood at the edges. 5, 6, maybe more, all wearing dark clothes, hoods, masks. One of them stepped forward, and the moon revealed his face. Sheriff Mallory. But he wasn't panicked. He wasn't tired. He looked comfortable, like this was where he belonged. He held a shotgun loosely, casually, as if we were neighbors chatting. "You made it farther than most," he said. My voice trembled. "Why?" Mallory tilted his head. "You saw the bags. So, you don't understand," he said softly. "This town survives because of those woods." My stomach turned. "What are you talking about?" Mallory's smile was thin. "People come through. Hunters, drifters, outsiders." He gestured toward the darkness. "They don't get missed the way locals do." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "You're killing people." Mallory shrugged. "Not just killing." His eyes flicked toward the cellar hatch. "Feeding." The word hit me like a punch. "Feeding who?" Mallory's smile widened. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "You think Elias Crow was the monster?" He chuckled. "He was just the one we let you catch." A figure stepped forward behind him. Tall, broad shoulders, black hoodie. The killer from the tower. His shoulder was bandaged, but his eyes were bright. Excited. He whispered, "I told you there's always another bag." Mallory nodded. "And tonight." He raised the shotgun slightly. "You become one." My finger tightened on my rifle. I aimed at Mallory's chest. He didn't flinch. "Do it," he said. "You won't." My hands shook violently. I could shoot him. I could end it. But then I saw movement behind him. More figures, all armed. If I fired, I'd die instantly. Mallory leaned closer. "You're not a killer," he murmured. "That's why you lose." Then, a scream shattered the clearing. Not mine, someone else's, from the woods, a woman, desperate, terrified. All heads turned, even Mallory. "What the hell?" one of the masked men muttered. The scream came again, closer. Then, a flashlight beam cut through the trees. State police. Dozens, rifles raised. "Drop your weapons!" Chaos erupted. Mallory's face twisted. "Now!" Gunfire exploded, figures scattered like roaches. Mallory grabbed my arm hard. "You ruined everything!" He shoved me toward Elias. "Take him!" Elias lunged. His hands closed around my throat. We fell into the grass. His breath was rotten. His voice was ecstatic. "I'm going to enjoy this." My vision blurred. I clawed at his arms, then a shot. Elias jerked violently. Blood sprayed. His grip loosened. He collapsed beside me, twitching. I gasped, coughing, air flooding back into my lungs. Above me, Sheriff Mallory stared in disbelief. A state trooper stood behind him, rifle smoking. "Sheriff Mallory," the trooper said coldly, "you're under arrest." Mallory's mouth opened. Then he ran, straight into the woods, gone. By dawn, the clearing was crawling with law enforcement. They arrested 3 men, found 2 more camps, more bags, more remains, more evidence of something rotten that had been festering for years. But Mallory disappeared. No body, no blood trail, nothing, like the woods swallowed him. The detective approached me as I sat wrapped in a blanket. "You're lucky to be alive," he said. I stared at the trees. "Is it over?" The detective hesitated. Then he answered honestly. "We cut off a branch." He looked into the forest. "But the roots..." His voice lowered. "The roots might still be there." That night, I left. Packed my things. Sold the house within a month. Never went back. But sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I swear I hear it. A soft whistle, somewhere far away, and I remember Mallory's words. "There's always another bag." I thought leaving would fix it. I thought distance would turn it into a story I could tell at parties. Something dark that happened once, something finished. But nightmares don't stay in the woods. They follow you. They live in the back of your mind. And they wait. I moved 3 states away. A small town outside Louisville. New house, new job. No hunting, no forests behind my backyard. Just neighborhoods, streetlights, and people close enough that nothing could hide. For the first few weeks, I almost believed it worked. I slept again. I stopped jumping at every sound. I even laughed once or twice. Then one night, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Same as before. My stomach dropped. I stared at it until the screen almost went dark. Then I answered. "Hello." Silence. Breathing. Then a whistle. Sharp. Familiar. My blood turned to ice. I whispered, "Mallory." The line went dead. The next morning I went straight to the police station. I told them everything. The hunting tower, the bags, the cult, the sheriff, the call, the whistle. The officer behind the desk listened politely, but his eyes said it all. He didn't believe me. Or worse, he thought I was crazy. "Sir," he said carefully, "we have no record of a Sheriff Mallory in this county." "I'm not saying here," I snapped. "I'm saying he's alive. He's out there." The officer sighed. "If someone is threatening you, file a harassment report." Harassment. Like this was some prank caller. I walked out shaking with anger, because they didn't understand. Mallory wasn't going to stop. Men like him never stop. That night, I bought cameras, motion lights, a security system. I checked my locks 3 times. I slept with a gun again. I hated myself for it. But fear is a habit, and mine had returned. At 2:43 a.m., my backyard motion light turned on. I bolted upright. Heart pounding, I grabbed my pistol and crept to the window. The yard was empty, light shining on nothing. Then, the camera notification popped up on my phone. Motion. Detected a back door. I tapped it. The screen loaded, and I froze. A man stood there, hood up, face hidden, but I knew that posture, that calmness, that patience. He raised his hand slowly and pressed something against my back door. A bag, black plastic, heavy. My breath caught. Then the camera audio picked up a soft sound, a whisper. "You left too soon." I didn't think. I didn't plan. I called 911 with shaking hands. "There's someone outside my house. Now. Please." The operator asked questions. I didn't answer properly, because the man at the door was smiling. I could see it now, even under the hood, that same smile. Then he lifted his head slightly, like he was looking directly at the camera, directly at me. And he whistled. Suddenly, my power went out. The cameras died instantly. The house plunged into darkness. I heard the back door handle jiggle, once, twice, then a slow scrape. Metal, lockpick. My whole body trembled. Not again, not here, not after everything. I backed away, gun raised. The door clicked, unlocked. Then, a knock, soft, polite, like a guest. Then Mallory's voice, clear as day. "Open up." My throat tightened. "You're supposed to be dead," Mallory chuckled. "People disappear in the woods every day." The door creaked open slowly, not forced, not broken. Opened like he belonged. A silhouette filled the doorway, tall, broad, hooded, and behind him, two more shapes. My gun shook violently. Mallory stepped inside. His face was older, more worn, but his eyes were exactly the same. Bright, predatory. "You thought you escaped," he murmured. "I told you." He leaned closer. "The roots are everywhere." Mallory stood in my kitchen like he'd never left, like he belonged there, like my home was just another place on his map. The two men behind him stayed silent, faces hidden under dark masks. One of them carried something long and heavy. At first I thought it was another bag. Then I realized it was a shovel. My stomach twisted. Mallory's eyes flicked down to my shaking pistol. "Go ahead," he said softly. "Shoot me." My finger tightened, but my arms felt like stone. Because I knew, even if I pulled the trigger, I wouldn't walk away. Mallory smiled. "That's what I love about you." He stepped closer. "You're not like us." His voice was almost affectionate. "You still hesitate." I swallowed hard. "What do you want?" Mallory's smile widened. "To finish what you started." "I didn't start anything." Mallory tilted his head. "Oh, you did." His voice sharpened. "You climbed down from that tower. You called the police. You made noise." He leaned in. "And now the whole world is sniffing around places they shouldn't." My heart hammered. "So you came here to kill me?" Mallory chuckled. "No." His eyes gleamed. "Killing you would be too easy." He nodded to one of the masked men. The man stepped forward and placed something on my kitchen table. A folder, thick, stuffed with papers. Mallory tapped it lightly. "Do you know what this is?" I didn't answer. Mallory opened it. Inside were photographs, missing persons posters, hunters, hikers, teenagers, drifters, dozens, hundreds, all with the same caption, "Last seen near woods/rural land." My throat tightened. Mallory whispered, "These are the bags you never saw." I stared at him, horrified. "How many?" Mallory's voice was calm. "Enough." Then he smiled again. "And we're not just one town." My blood ran cold. "What?" Mallory spread his arms slightly. "We're everywhere." The words didn't feel real. I shook my head. "No, that's impossible." Mallory laughed softly. "Is it?" He walked past me, glancing at my family photos on the wall. "You think evil stays in one patch of trees." He turned back. "You think monsters live under one tower." His voice lowered. "We have roots in every state." My stomach dropped. "Who are you people?" Mallory's expression darkened. "A necessity." I stared at him. "That's insane." Mallory's smile vanished. "You know what's insane?" He stepped closer. People believing the world is safe. His eyes bored into mine. We remind them it isn't. One of the masked men moved suddenly. Before I could react, something slammed into the side of my head. White exploded across my vision. My gun clattered to the floor. I tried to swing, to fight, but another blow hit my ribs. I collapsed. Hands grabbed me, strong, unforgiving. Mallory crouched beside me. His voice was gentle. "Don't worry. You're not going in a bag." My blood tasted like metal. Mallory whispered, "You're going to become useful." When I woke up, I was somewhere else. Not my house, not my town. The air was damp, cold, earthy. I blinked against darkness. A single bulb hung overhead, swinging slightly. I was strapped to a chair, leather restraints around my wrists, my ankles, my chest. My breath hitched. The cellar. It looked exactly like the one in the woods, only this one was cleaner, organized, intentional, on the walls, shelves, tools, plastic, hooks, and on the far side, a row of black bags, at least 5. My stomach turned. I struggled against the restraints. "Mallory!" Footsteps approached, slow, unhurried. Then he appeared under the bulb. No hood, no mask, just him, the sheriff, the monster. Mallory smiled. "Welcome back to the roots." My voice cracked. "What is this?" Mallory tilted his head. "A lesson." He walked behind me. "You saw one branch." He leaned closer, voice almost a whisper. "Now you see the tree." He stepped into view again, holding something, a small recorder. He placed it on a table. "You're going to tell your story." I blinked. "What?" Mallory's smile returned. "YouTube." My blood froze. "You think we don't watch?" He chuckled. "We love storytellers." My throat tightened. "You found us because of stories." He spread his hands. "And now, you'll help us grow." I shook my head violently. "No." Mallory sighed. "That's disappointing." He nodded to the masked men. One of them dragged a bag forward, dropped it with a wet thud. Mallory unzipped it halfway. Inside, a human hand, fresh. My stomach lurched. Mallory's voice was calm. "This is what happens when people refuse." I gagged. Mallory crouched beside me. "But you're smarter than that," he whispered. "You're going to record a confession." My eyes widened. "A confession?" Mallory nodded. "You're going to tell the world you made it up, that you staged it, that you were sick." My chest tightened. "No." Mallory's eyes hardened. "Or," he gestured toward the bags, "you become one." Tears burned my eyes. My voice shook. "You can't do this forever." Mallory smiled. "We already have." He leaned closer. "And no one believes the ones who survive." I stared at him, trembling. Then Mallory whispered the worst part. "You know why." I swallowed. "Why?" Mallory's grin widened. "Because we have sheriffs, deputies, judges." He tapped my chest. "Roots." The bulb flickered. For a moment, Mallory's face looked wrong. Not human, just shadow and teeth. Then footsteps echoed above us. Mallory froze. One of the masked men turned sharply. A muffled sound came from upstairs. A voice. A woman's voice. "Police! Search warrant!" Mallory's smile vanished instantly. "What?" The masked men panicked. Mallory hissed. "That's impossible!" The door above slammed. Boots thundered down steps. Flashlights cut through the cellar. "Drop everything!" Chaos erupted. Gunfire, shouting. Mallory backed away, eyes wild. He leaned close to me one last time. His voice was venom. "This isn't over." Then he disappeared into the darkness, through a side tunnel. A tunnel I hadn't seen. Hands grabbed my restraints, cutting me free. A detective pulled me up. "You're safe! You're safe!" I was shaking too hard to stand. "How?" The detective's face was grim. We traced your phone before the power cut. My throat tightened. You found me? The detective nodded. But Mallory. His eyes flicked toward the tunnel. He's gone. Outside, dawn was breaking. I sat wrapped in a blanket again. Always a blanket. Always survival. But no peace. Because I knew now. It wasn't one sheriff. It wasn't one town. It wasn't one forest. It was everywhere. And Mallory was still out there. Somewhere in the roots. They kept me in protective custody for 3 days. 3 days of fluorescent lights, locked doors, and officers outside every hallway. It should have felt safe. But safety isn't real once you've seen the roots. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw black plastic bags lined up like coffins. I heard Mallory's whisper, "This isn't over." And the worst part, I believed him. On the 4th day, Detective Harris sat across from me with a coffee I couldn't bring myself to drink. He looked exhausted, the kind of exhaustion that comes from realizing the world is uglier than you thought. "We raided 3 more locations," he said quietly. I stared at him. "And?" Harris swallowed hard. "More cellars." My chest tightened. "More bags." He nodded once. "More remains." Silence hung between us. Then Harris leaned forward. "This is bigger than a serial killer." I laughed bitterly. "I told you." Harris's eyes sharpened. "We found paperwork." "What kind?" Harris hesitated, then slid a folder across the table. Inside were names, not victims, not suspects. Names of officials, sheriffs, deputies, small-town judges, even a state senator. My stomach dropped. "No." Harris's voice was flat. "Yes." My hands trembled as I flipped through pages. It couldn't be real. It couldn't. But it was. Mallory wasn't hiding in the shadows. He was hiding in plain sight, wearing badges, sitting behind desks, smiling for community photos, roots everywhere. Harris exhaled slowly. "We can't trust local departments." My throat tightened. "So what now?" Harris's eyes were heavy. "Now we disappear you." I blinked. "What?" He lowered his voice. "You're the only living witness who's seen the inside of their operation." My blood ran cold. "They'll never stop coming." Harris nodded grimly. "So we move you. New name, new town, federal protection." I stared at him, hollow. "You think that works?" Harris didn't answer immediately. Then he said quietly, "It has to." 2 days later, I was in the back of an unmarked car. Hat pulled low, no phone, no contact with anyone. Just silence and highway lines blurring past the window. We drove for hours. The agent beside me never spoke much, just kept his hand near his weapon. Finally, near sunset, we pulled into a motel parking lot. The agent frowned. "This isn't right." My stomach clenched. "What?" He scanned the area. Too empty, too quiet. Then he saw it. A police cruiser parked near the office. Lights off, but the badge on the door wasn't federal. It was local. The agent cursed under his breath. "Stay in the car." He stepped out slowly, hand on his gun. The cruiser door opened. A man stepped out. Tall, broad shoulders, sheriff's uniform, not Mallory, but close enough to make my blood freeze. The man smiled. "Evening." The agent's voice was sharp. "Federal business. Back off." The sheriff chuckled. "Federal?" He tilted his head. "This is my county." The agent raised his weapon. The sheriff didn't flinch. Instead, he whistled. Sharp, short. My stomach dropped. From behind the motel, figures emerged. 3, 4, all armed, all wearing dark clothes. The agent spun, firing. Gunshots shattered the air. Glass exploded. People screamed inside rooms. The sheriff smiled wider. "Roots," he murmured. The agent grabbed me. "Run!" We sprinted across the parking lot. Bullets cracked behind us. The agent shoved me toward the tree line beyond the motel. "Go! Don't stop! What about you?" He didn't answer. He turned back, firing, holding them off. I ran. I ran like I was back in those woods again. Branches tore at my clothes. My lungs burned. Behind me, I heard a scream, then silence. The agent was gone, and I was alone. Again. I stumbled onto a road hours later. A truck driver found me, called emergency services. By the time the feds arrived, the motel was empty. No bodies, no sheriff, no cruisers, nothing, like it never happened. Detective Harris met me later, face pale. "They're inside everything," I whispered. Harris's jaw clenched. "We're shutting it down." "How?" Harris looked at me. "By going public." My blood froze. "No." Harris nodded. "They thrive in silence, in disbelief." He leaned forward. "We need the world watching." I laughed bitterly. "The world doesn't believe survivors." Harris's voice was hard. "Then we make them." A week later, they released partial evidence. Photos, documents, the cellar, the bags, the network. News stations exploded. People panicked. Officials denied. Some resigned. Some vanished overnight. Mallory's name was everywhere, but Mallory himself was nowhere. And that scared me more than anything, because a cornered animal is dangerous, and Mallory wasn't cornered. He was patient. Then one morning, I woke up in the safe house, a small apartment under constant surveillance, cameras, agents, locks. For the first time in days, it felt almost secure, until the agent at the door called out, "Package delivery." I frowned. "I didn't order anything." The agent checked the hallway camera. "It's just sitting outside." He opened the door cautiously, then froze. His face went white. My stomach dropped. "What is it?" He didn't answer. He just backed away slowly. I stepped forward and saw it. A black bag on the doorstep, neatly placed, tied at the top, like a gift. My blood turned to ice. Pinned to it was a note, 3 words, written in neat handwriting, "Always another bag." My knees went weak. The agent raised his gun. "Don't touch it." I couldn't breathe. Mallory knew. He knew where I was, even here, even now, roots everywhere. Then my phone buzzed, a number I didn't recognize. I stared at it, hands shaking. I answered. Silence. Then Mallory's voice, soft as a whisper. "You can't hide forever." Click. No one touched it for a long time. The bag sat there like it was breathing, like it was alive. Every agent in the hallway had their weapon drawn. One of them whispered, "Bomb squad." Another muttered, "No, this is his signature." I couldn't move. I couldn't blink. All I could see were those words on the note. Always another bag. Mallory wasn't just threatening me. He was reminding me. He could reach anywhere, even here, even under federal protection, even under cameras, even under locks, roots, everywhere. The bomb squad arrived within the hour. They treated the bag like it could end the building. A robot rolled forward, metal claws trembling slightly. The hallway was silent except for the hum of machinery. The claw grabbed the knot, pulled, slowly. The bag opened, and the smell hit first. Rot, earth, decay, something old, something wrong. One of the agents gagged. Then the robot peeled the plastic wider. A flashlight beam cut inside, and for a second, nobody spoke. Then one agent whispered, "Oh my God!" I stepped forward before anyone could stop me. No, no. Inside the bag was a head, a human head, eyes half open, mouth frozen in terror, and I recognized him instantly. Detective Harris. My stomach dropped so hard it felt like my soul fell with it. I stumbled backward, choking. "No!" An agent grabbed my shoulder. "Don't look." But it was too late. The note fluttered slightly in the air conditioning. Pinned beneath it was another message, this one longer, handwritten carefully, almost politely. "You went public. You broke the silence. So I broke your hope. Next time, it's you. The safe house erupted into chaos. Agents shouting, radios crackling, someone vomiting into the stairwell. I stood there shaking so violently I thought my bones would snap. Mallory had killed Harris and delivered him like a package. That meant only one thing. This wasn't a chase anymore. This was personal. That night they moved me again. Another location, another identity. But it didn't matter, because the truth had finally settled in my chest like a stone. Mallory wasn't running. He was hunting, and I was the trophy. Days passed, then weeks. The news kept talking about arrests, more raids, more exposed officials. But Mallory's name never appeared under captured, only under one word. Wanted, and wanted men are the most dangerous, because they have nothing left to lose. One evening, an agent sat across from me. His voice was tired. "We can't keep doing this forever." I stared at him. "So what then?" He hesitated, then said quietly, "We end it." My throat tightened. "How?" The agent leaned forward. "We use you as bait." My blood froze. "No, we don't have a choice," he said. "He keeps finding you. He keeps leaving bags." He swallowed hard. "If we don't stop him, you'll never live." I laughed bitterly. "I'm not living now." They set the trap in the only place Mallory ever truly belonged. The woods, not my old woods, not his old town, a different forest, deep, isolated, perfect. They built a tower, just like mine, and they placed me inside it. Night vision scope, rifle, agents hidden in the tree line, drones above, thermal cameras, an entire operation. If Mallory came, he wouldn't leave. That was the promise. Midnight arrived. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. My hands shook on the rifle. The radio crackled softly. "Stay alert." Minutes passed. Then an hour. Nothing. And for the first time in months, I wondered if maybe he was gone. Maybe it was over. Then, movement. At the edge of the clearing. A figure, dragging something. A sack. My blood turned to ice. Mallory. He walked slowly into view. Hood up, black clothes, like the night itself had taken human shape. He stopped, looked up, directly at the tower, even though he shouldn't have been able to see me. And he smiled. Even from this distance, I could tell. My radio crackled urgently. "Target confirmed. Hold position." Mallory raised his hand and whistled, sharp, short, instantly. Figures emerged from the trees. Not agents, not police, other men, masked, armed. My stomach dropped. No! They were everywhere. They had surrounded the operation. They knew, they always knew, roots, everywhere. Mallory's voice carried softly through the clearing. "You really thought you could trap the roots?" Gunfire erupted. Chaos exploded. Agents shouted. Masked men fired back. The forest became war. Mallory never moved. He just kept staring up at me, waiting, inviting. Then my radio screamed, "Shoot him! Shoot now!" My finger tightened. I aimed. Mallory spread his arms wide, like he wanted it, like he was welcoming it. I fired. The shot cracked through the night. Mallory staggered, fell to one knee. For a second, hope sparked in my chest. Then, he laughed. Even bleeding, he laughed, and whispered loud enough for me to hear, "There's always another." Then another shot rang out. Not mine, from the tree line. Mallory's head snapped back. His body collapsed fully into the grass. Silence. The masked men scattered into the woods. Agents stormed forward. Flashlights cut across Mallory's body. One agent shouted, "He's down! He's down!" My breath trembled. It was over. It was finally. Then an agent's voice cracked. "Wait!" Another voice. "Where's his face?" My stomach dropped. I climbed down, legs weak, stumbling into the clearing. Mallory's body lay there, blood soaking the grass, but his hood was empty. No head, no face, just nothing, like someone had removed it. Like it was never him, just clothing, just a costume, a decoy. My blood froze solid. Then from behind me, a whisper, right against my ear. "You should have stayed in the tower." I spun and saw him, Mallory, smiling, alive. The last thing I remember was the sound of a whistle, and the woods answering back. They never found Sheriff Mallory. Officially, he doesn't exist anymore. No records, no fingerprints, no history, like the roots erased him. But sometimes, late at night, when the world is quiet, people in small towns find black bags on their doorstep, and pinned to them 3 words, "Always another bag."